You know, my mama went to school with him. My mama was so scared for me to even be involved with him.
Lil Wayne went off on Birdman, suing him for a jaw-dropping $51 million, calling himself a prisoner. And then, out of nowhere, his tour bus got shot up right in the middle of all that chaos. Meanwhile, Juvenile, another Cash Money legend, walked away after a quadruple platinum streak, suing the label too and exposing how terrible the contracts were, saying he wouldn't see a dime in royalties for years. After years of drama, unpaid money, shady deals, and broken promises, rappers from every era started coming forward, finally spilling the truth about why they can't stand Birdman. This whole situation broke the hearts of hip-hop fans everywhere, and it all starts with one of the most painful stories in rap history, the war between Lil Wayne and Birdman. If you don't know their history, here's the real deal. Wayne met Birdman as a kid growing up in New Orleans. Birdman, but Baby as everyone called him, became like a father figure, taking him under his wing and signing him to Cash Money Records when Wayne was only around 9 or 11 years old. Wayne's even talked about how deep Birdman's street rep ran before the fame. This wasn't just some label boss. This was a man whose name held real weight in the New Orleans streets long before music ever made him famous. And Wayne himself once mentioned how his own mama reacted when she found out who her son was signing with, showing just how serious Birdman's reputation was out there. Wayne's biological father had dipped out and his stepfather was tragically killed, so Birdman became that father figure he never had. They were so close that photos of them kissing on the lips started floating around online, something Birdman always defended as a father and son gesture. That's how tight they were. But by the time 2014 rolled around, it all came crashing down. Wayne accused Birdman of holding his album hostage, the Carter Five, refusing to pay him the money he was owed, and basically trapping him on the label like he was doing time. Back in 2005, Wayne had launched Young Money Entertainment under Cash Money's umbrella, signing megastars like Drake and Nicki Minaj.
In New Orleans, you know, that name way before there was rap, before there was a Cash Money Records, that name held weight.
Right.
You know, my mama went to school with him.
Right.
My mama was so scared for me to even be involved with him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? All she would say was like, boy, that boy was 14 with $1 million. Like, ain't nobody on it now. I don't know how you got it. That was 14, I don't know. She was...
Under their deal, Cash Money owned 51% of Young Money while Wayne had 49%. It was supposed to be a partnership, shared profits, shared success, but that setup ended up planting the seeds for a major fallout. Then, on December 4th, 2014, Wayne dropped a bombshell on Twitter saying, "I want off this label and nothing to do with these people. But unfortunately, it ain't that easy. I'm a prisoner and so is my creativity." That tweet shook the whole culture. We're talking about Lil Wayne, the man who built Cash Money into a powerhouse. His manager, Cortez Bryant, even backed him up on Instagram, saying Wayne had carried the label on his back for more than a decade. Things got so bad that by January 2015, Wayne officially filed that $51 million lawsuit against Cash Money Records, claiming they owed him an $8 million advance for Thug Carter's Five. The brotherhood was over, and the hip-hop world had just witnessed one of the biggest betrayals in music history. Wayne wasn't just asking for that $51 million, he wanted another $2 million for finishing his album, plus royalties from all Young Money artists. He claimed Birdman had straight up mishandled over $70 million from a $100 million Young Money advance that was meant for royalties and marketing. Wayne even went so far as to accuse Birdman and Universal of teaming up in a conspiracy, saying they used his Young Money profits to help cover Birdman's $70 million debt from that massive advance. And just when it felt like things couldn't get any crazier, in April 2015, Wayne's tour bus got shot up in Atlanta right after a show. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but the story that followed was wild. Phone records allegedly connected the shooting to Birdman and Young Thug, though neither of them was ever charged. One of Young Thug's affiliates, Pee Wee Roscoe, was arrested and ended up getting 10 years in prison. Some insiders even claimed Birdman was trying to replace Wayne with Thug.
So you expect me to take a pay cut in the next city on top of taking a loss? You feel me? That I ain't getting none of my back end. Nah, I need all my money when we go to Cleveland. You feel me? Once I said that, I thought everything was cool, understood, but they had a cake baked for me, I guess. That's what they think. 4 o'clock in the morning, they sent my manager an email saying that I'm terminated. that I was a security threat.
Who, at the time, had named his project Carter 6 before switching it to Barter 6 after the backlash. That move alone had fans losing their minds. After years of lawsuits and tension, the feud finally came to an end in 2018 when Wayne reached a settlement. He reportedly got over $10 million, gained full control of his music through Universal, and was finally free from Cash Money. When Thaw Carter Fee finally dropped that September, it debuted with 480,000 units, proving Wayne still ran the game. The two eventually made peace. They were spotted hugging at Club Live. Birdman posted "Me and my son" on Instagram, and he even apologized on stage at the Lil Louisiana Fest. But for a long time, it looked like one of hip-hop's tightest father-son bonds had been shattered over money. But this wasn't new. Juvenile's story had already shown the world that Cash Money's money problems ran deep. Before Wayne's fallout, Juvenile had already been through it. He was one of the biggest stars on the label, dropping straight classics like 400 Degrees, which went quadruple platinum in 1998, and timeless hits like Ha and Back That Ass Up that still get people dancing at cookouts today. His follow-ups? The G Code went double platinum, Project English went platinum, and Juve the Great hit platinum too, with Slow Motion featuring Soulja Slim topping the Billboard Hot 100. Juvenile helped define an entire era of Southern rap, but the way he ended up at Cash Money in the first place was straight out of a movie. After leaving Warlock Records over creative issues, Juvenile was just trying to take his sound beyond bounce music. He ran into Birdman at a bus stop in New Orleans. No joke. Birdman heard him freestyle and was so impressed that he introduced him to producer Manny Fresh, who would go on to craft that signature Cash Money sound.
Respects Birdman's hustle.
So Ace said one thing he respects about Birdman is the hustle, and that's one thing everybody has got to respect about Birdman. Can't nobody say they out hustle Birdman from the very start. Hey, we know what he allegedly did back in his teens and stuff like that. He was outside in them streets, all of that stuff. Been documented and confirmed. You feel me? Now, fast forward, he built Cash Money from the ground up with his brother, had a bunch of local artists and made them national artists. He took those national artists and made them global superstars. We're talking about Wayne, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Juvenile, BG, Turk, the Hot Boys. Manny Fresh made him one of the greatest producers.
Part of what drew Juvenile in was the rivalry between Cash Money and Master P's No Limit Records. At the time, there was serious competition in New Orleans, especially between Cash Money and No Limit artist Mystical. And that tension helped push Juvenile toward Birdman's side. But by the early 2000s, around 2001 or 2002, Juvenile bounced from the label too, fed up over money issues. He said Cash Money wasn't paying him what he was owed. And after his lawyer checked the contracts, it turned out things were a mess. The paperwork was so bad, he realized he wouldn't see royalties for years. According to Juvenile, Cash Money was out here using a criminal lawyer to handle entertainment deals. And he made it clear that just wasn't cutting it. Man, the contracts were a total mess. Paperwork was botched, filings were off, and artists kept getting crushed in court battles. Juvenile later broke it down in interviews, saying the beef wasn't personal at first. Beef wasn't no personal, I don't like this guy, he said. It was strictly business mishandling. But even with that, he still accused Birdman and Slim of pocketing most of the profits, while he, Turk, and BG got left out in the cold. Juvenile even hit Cash Money with a lawsuit in 2003 for unpaid royalties. He reportedly went after $4 million, but ended up settling for $11 million. After that, he publicly vowed to hit the label in the pockets and blasted Birdman for trying to mess up his reputation. Birdman fired back, calling Juvenile a failure, whose solo career didn't live up to expectations. And he even claimed Juvenile left threatening voicemails. That's when things got real personal. Fast. Then there's BG, a certified legend in New Orleans. One of the original Hot Boys, he signed to Cash Money when he was just 12 years old, right alongside an 11-year-old Lil Wayne. This dude gave us Bling Bling, the track that literally added a new word to the dictionary and shaped an entire era of late 90s hip-hop. BG helped take Cash Money to the next level. His 1999 album Chopper City in the Ghetto became a classic, and his success helped the label land that $30 million Universal distribution deal in 1998. But just like the others, BG eventually walked away in the early 2000s, fed up with the money issues. He claimed he never got paid for around 80 songs he recorded, saying he never received a single royalty check for his albums before 1998. By 2001, BG, Juvenile, and Turk had all bounced from Cash Money, accusing the label of shady accounting and unpaid royalties. They sued, reached a settlement in 2003, but that experience left some deep scars. BG eventually ran into more trouble. He was arrested in 2009 on gun charges and sentenced to 14 years in prison in 2012. He served 11 years before finally walking free on September 5th, 2023. While locked up, BG said he didn't feel any real support from the label. That pain only made his resentment over the unpaid money grow stronger. But when he finally got out, Birdman actually showed up to greet him, gifted him a Cash Money chain, and reportedly dropped $1 million cash in his hand. It was a full circle moment nobody saw coming. But here's where it gets spicy. While BG was still dealing with all that frustration, he had actually made a diss track aimed at Cash Money. In January 2024, he popped up on Finesse 2Times track TFI, where he even took shots at Lil Wayne for not sending money while he was behind bars. That line had everyone thinking there was about to be serious smoke between him and the whole Cash Money crew. But then came the twist. BG later explained why Birdman didn't take it personal and actually forgave him for the diss. He opened up about how it wasn't hate, it was hurt. And Birdman, knowing their shared history, understood exactly where that emotion came from. It was another wild chapter in a story that proved no matter how deep the bond runs, money can turn family into enemies, and then back again. BG explained that when he's deep in his emotions, he just zones out in the booth. That's how he vents, raw and straight from the heart. Birdman understood because their bond runs way back. BG even mentioned how his mom's house was a stash spot back in the 80s, showing how far their roots go. But now we gotta talk about Hot Boy Turk, one of the loudest voices calling out Cash Money's shady dealings. Turk's been clashing with Birdman and even his old group mates for years, and unlike BG, his situation with the label is still far from settled. Turk was discovered by Birdman at just 13 years old and joined Cash Money to form the Hot Boys. Their 1997 debut, Get It How You Live, sold 400,000 copies, and Guerrilla Warfare in 1999 topped the R&B/hip-hop charts and hit number 5 on Billboard 200. But by 2003, Turk had walked away with Juvenile and BG, claiming he never got paid for about 80 records. Things took a darker turn in 2004 when Turk got caught up in a drug raid gone wrong involving a SWAT shootout. He got 14 years in prison, served nearly 9, and got out in 2012. But when he came home, Birdman didn't even acknowledge it. No chain, no $1 million like BG got. That silence hit deep.
So it's the first time you're hearing about a security
Yeah,
risk?
because
Okay.
where was our security threat before when you offered me to take less of my...
In 2015, Turk sued Cash Money for over $1 million, claiming void contracts and bad accounting. It was later settled for about $1.3 million, which he called severance pay, since it didn't include publishing rights. He briefly re-signed in 2016, but nothing came of it. Then came the Hot Boys reunion drama. Turk was supposed to join the 2025 30th anniversary tour, but things went sideways fast after he refused to take a pay cut. Birdman's team said it was over a security issue, but Turk called that excuse cap. At the Cash Money vs. No Limit Versus battle in October 2025, Birdman got on stage and called Turk a little boy, saying, "We rock with you when we want to." Turk, watching from home at his own watch party, was heated. He later clowned BG's outfit from the event, calling him anti-BG. The situation got messy. Turk sued promoters for $300,000, and they hit back with a $12 million countersuit accusing him of sabotaging the tour. This feud still has no peace in sight. Now, let's talk Manny Fresh, the man who built the Cash Money sound. Every hit from the late 90s to early 2000s had his fingerprints. Back That, As Up, Still Fly, Go DJ, Bling Bling, all him. Manny joined Cash Money in 1993, crafting that hard-hitting New Orleans bounce sound that made the label legendary. He wasn't just a producer either. He was half of Big Timers with Birdman, dropping Hood Rich in 2002 and going platinum. Manny often credited Cash Money for teaching independence in hip-hop, but by 2005, he was done, citing financial disputes and a need for creative freedom. He wanted to expand beyond rap into rock and gospel, but most importantly, he said he wasn't getting paid fairly for beats that built the label. Manny once said he was making about $50,000 per beat, but the math didn't match the label's lavish spending. He called it homeboy business, when friends and family handle serious money without real expertise. Your homie can't be your manager or lawyer, he warned, because if a company doesn't want you to have real ones, maybe you shouldn't be there. Birdman didn't take his exit lightly. In a 2006 interview, he publicly questioned Manny's loyalty, throwing shade at him for leaving. Manny later sued Cash Money that same year and settled privately, keeping some of his masters. But by 2010, he was still chasing unpaid royalties. Manny called it a lesson learned. Never mix friendship with business when money's on the line. After leaving, he signed with Def Jam South, producing Jeezy's 2005 hit And Then What?, which he said was his turning point after one of the darkest periods of his career. And just when you thought the Cash Money saga couldn't get spicier, here comes Gillie the Kid claiming he was the ghostwriter behind Lil Wayne's flow. According to Gillie, he helped tighten Wayne's bars and even contributed to Thought Carter-era projects. The story only gets wilder from here. Birdman and Wayne have always denied the ghostwriting claims from Gillie the Kid. Gillie was actually signed to Cash Money briefly in the early 2000s, but left in 2003 over money issues. He said he was promised a $200,000 signing bonus, but got tangled up in bad publishing deals and shady business moves. Birdman has stuck to his story for years, saying Gillie never dropped a single track under Cash Money or made him a dime. In 2023, Birdman doubled down, saying, "I ain't never made $1 off Gillie, and he for sure ain't never wrote one rhyme for Moolah Wayne." Their beef simmered for years, through diss tracks and street DVDs. In 2006, Lil Wayne fired shots on Problem Solver off the Carter 2 mixtape. Gillie clapped back on Cheddar DVD Volume 6, making wild accusations, saying he lent Wayne jewelry for videos, advised him on business, and called out what he labeled as fake behavior in the Cash Money camp. Then out of nowhere, things flared up again in 2023 when Birdman hopped on Clubhouse with Whack 100 and said he lost all respect for Gillie, claiming he saw Beanie Sigel slap Gillie years ago in a Philly store. Birdman said Gillie was strapped and deep with his crew, but didn't do a thing, adding, "You not like that." Gillie came back with smoke, laughing it off in a video saying, "Why Birdman wait 25 years to say something? Man, it took you that long to get some heart." Then he boasted, "I'm bigger than Baby. I make more money than him right now." He flat out called Birdman a coward and said the Beanie Sigel story was completely fake. But here's the twist. Even after all that heat, Gillie admitted he respects Birdman's grind.
In New Orleans, that name way before there was rap, before there was a Cash Money record, that name held weight.
Right.
My mama went to school with him.
Right.
My mama was so scared for me to even be involved with him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? All she would say was like, "Boy, that boy was 14 with $1 million. Like, ain't nobody, I don't know how you got it. That was 14, I don't know." She was.
At 48 years old, Gillie says he's focused on family and legacy now, not old beefs. He called it past light, not present war, saying that while he'll never forget what happened, he can't deny Birdman's business hustle. That's real talk. But the drama doesn't stop there, because now we got to get into a feud that's been brewing for over 20 years. Pusha T versus Birdman and the entire Cash Money camp. This one's layered. It goes back to 2002 when Birdman allegedly didn't properly pay the Neptunes for producing What Happened to That Boy, the hit featuring Clipsy's Pusha T and No Malice. Pharrell, who produced the track, was reportedly so upset he refused to ever work with Cash Money again. Since Pusha T was tight with Pharrell and part of the Star Trek family, he took that slight personally. That situation became one of the biggest reasons behind their long-running tension. Things only got worse when Lil Wayne started rocking BAPE clothing, a style that Clips and Pharrell had made iconic with their close friend Nigo, the founder of the brand. Pusha saw it as biting the style, and from there, the animosity between Pusha T, Birdman, and Wayne was locked in for decades. Back in 2006, when Lil Wayne graced the Vibe magazine cover rocking BAPE, Clips fired back with Mr. Me Too, featuring Pharrell, dropping lines like, "Wanna know the time? Better clock us." Nutlaws bite the style from the shoes to the watches. Fans instantly took it as a jab at Wayne for copying their fashion vibe. Wayne didn't let that slide. In a December 2006 Complex interview, he downplayed Clips' influence, saying, "I don't see no Clips. They had to do a song with us to get hot." Then he even mocked Pharrell, saying, "Who is Pharrell? Do you really respect him? That dude wore weird stuff and y'all thought he was cool?" The tension was real. Things exploded again in 2012 when Pusha T dropped Exodus 23:1, a straight lyrical warning shot. He rapped, "Contract all fed up. I guess that means you all fed up. You signed to one that signed to another that signed to three. Now that's bad luck." Everyone knew it was aimed at Drake's tangled Young Money Cash Money Universal deal and Birdman's control. Wayne fired right back on Twitter saying, "Foz, Pusha T, and anybody that love him," then dropped the diss track Ghoulish. But Pusha wasn't impressed, calling it horrible and trash during his Hot 97 interview. Fast forward to 2025, and Pusha T was still coming for Cash Money. He dropped Damage Control with Wales, spitting, "The realest Birdman, I just cock-a-doodle-doo. Doorstep, I get it right through. Money talk, the wrist is light blue. Sugar Hill, sweetest feeling. Type 2, bruised egos, man, you might sue that." That last line was a clever jab at Drake's lawsuit against Universal Music Group. Over 2 decades later, Pusha T was still applying pressure, telling GQ that lawsuits cheapened rap battles, proving he still had no love for Cash Money. And speaking of long-running beefs, we gotta talk about Rick Ross versus Birdman. These two used to be tight, like real tight. They even made a joint project called The H back in 2008, which eventually dropped as a mixtape in 2013, hosted by DJ Khaled. Their bond was built on mutual respect and Southern rap dominance, Ross repping Miami and Birdman repping New Orleans. But the energy changed once Ross saw how Birdman was treating Lil Wayne during their public fallout. Ross couldn't stay quiet about it. In 2015, he dropped Color Money, where he indirectly shaded Birdman, hinting at the messy money situation over at Cash Money. Then in 2016, he kept the pressure on, taking shots on Snapchat, clowning the rumored Birdman-Wayne reunion, and even sending roses to Charlemagne Tha God after Birdman's infamous "Put Some Respect on My Name" meltdown on The Breakfast Club. Idols turned into rivals on Rick Ross's explosive album, Rather You Than Me. Over a soulful Chris Rock sample, Ross poured his heart out, talking about how his respect for Birdman had completely faded. "You would give us self-esteem and motivate our drive, but was in our pockets by the time we count to 5. He rapped passionately before adding, "I pray you find the kindness in your heart for Wayne. His entire life he gave you what there was to gain." That line hit deep. Ross didn't stop there. He called out Birdman directly for allegedly failing to pay producers who helped build Cash Money's empire. He made it clear that he once looked up to Birdman like a hero, but seeing how Lil Wayne was treated after carrying the label for more than 10 years broke that admiration completely. In an interview with Billboard, Ross laid it out bluntly. Birdman is supposed to be in that building, making those people give him money to take care of his man. There's nothing more I hate than that, us not doing what we came here for. His frustration was loud and clear. Birdman, never one to stay silent, brushed it off in his own Billboard interview. "I don't get caught up in shit, man," he said coolly. "I just keep doing what I'm doing and keep pushing. Numbers don't lie, and that's all I care about, putting up them numbers." His tone showed no regret, no backing down. Things boiled over in late 2017 when Birdman dropped a 10-minute rant video packed with insults and chest-thumping energy. Ross clapped back instantly from vacation, posting, "Boy, you a year late, and 5 years late paying that man his money. Pay that man Lil Wayne his money. We know you ain't right." The internet went wild over that exchange. Around that same time, Tyga's frustration with Cash Money was also hitting its peak. Signed to Young Money back in 2008, Tyga dropped monster hits like Rack City, which went 4 times platinum and peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. His major label albums Careless World, Rise of the Last King, 2012, and Hotel California, 2013, made serious waves. But behind the scenes, the money side wasn't adding up. By October 2014, Tyga was venting publicly that Cash Money was straight up holding his project hostage. He jumped on Twitter and wrote, "Gold album been done, my album been done, but my label holding me hostage so I can't release nothing." Fans went crazy realizing even Tyga was caught in the same label drama as Wayne. Birdman tried to play it cool again in an XXL interview, calling the whole situation not cool, but keeping things neutral without taking direct shots at Tyga. Still, the tension was obvious. By 2015, Tyga had enough. He confirmed he was done with Cash Money and dropped the Gold album, 18th Dynasty, independently through his own label, King's Records. Then, in 2017, Tyga went on The Breakfast Club and revealed he was owed between $12 to $15 million in unpaid royalties from Cash Money, including from Rack City and other hits. He held back from suing right away, saying, "I'm in a position to where I just want Wayne to get what he's owed first." In August 2018, Tyga decided enough was enough. He officially filed a massive lawsuit against Birdman, Lil Wayne, Cash Money, and Young Money for breach of contract. At first, reports said he was chasing around $1 million in unpaid royalties, but court documents later revealed the real figure was closer to $10 million. He was going after royalties from Careless World and Hotel California, plus hits like Faded and Make It Nasty. Things were about to get messy. But here's where the whole story flipped. Birdman clapped back. claiming Tyga actually owed Cash Money. According to him, Tyga had unrecouped advances, money the label had fronted that hadn't been paid back yet. Birdman even produced accounting records showing Tyga's royalty account was deep in the negative because of all the advances and promo expenses. The narrative completely reversed overnight. By April 2019, Tyga quietly dropped the lawsuit. No settlement, no payout, just gone. Reports said both sides couldn't reach an agreement, and Birdman's claims about those unrecouped advances played a major role in stalling things. The case was dismissed without prejudice, meaning Tyga could bring it back later, but he never did. Still, the tension lingered. Fast forward to 2022, and Birdman brought the issue back up again, saying Tyga's talk about being owed $12 million was straight cap. The back and forth never truly died down. It just simmered in the background while Birdman kept expanding his empire. Then came a new chapter and a new name in the mix, NBA YoungBoy. Around 2018, Birdman took the young Baton Rouge rapper under his wing, calling him the biggest rapper in the game and saying he had the potential to be a billion-dollar artist. He even compared him to Lil Wayne, which was a huge statement. Their Louisiana bond ran deep, and in 2021, they dropped a joint project titled From the Bayou, blending their southern roots with heavy-hitting flows. Fans loved the chemistry, but behind the scenes, not everyone was convinced things would stay sweet. Lil Wayne himself sent out a subtle warning in 2020 on his track Multiple Flows with Lil Uzi Vert, saying, "And I had told YoungBoy to watch out for old head," clearly hinting at Birdman's long history of money disputes. It was a quiet caution, but it didn't go unheard. Then, in June 2024, things took a dark turn. YoungBoy dropped a haunting track called Tears of War, which he said was his last recording before a police raid hit his home that April. The lyrics were heavy. He rapped, "Knew that Stunner never loved me, should have listened to the Carter." Fans instantly caught the references. Stunner for Birdman and Carter for Lil Wayne's warning. He even threw subtle shots at Floyd Mayweather and some people in his inner circle, accusing them of betrayal. According to XXL, YoungBoy outright claimed that Birdman never loved him, despite all the promises and public praise. The internet lit up. Reddit was split down the middle. Some fans said the song was straight fire, but not a full diss track since it only had a few jabs at Birdman. Still, the tension was obvious, and everyone thought that relationship was done for good. But here's the twist. By mid-2025, things had completely turned around. In August, YoungBoy and Birdman reunited in New Orleans in wild fashion. YoungBoy showed up in a bulletproof vest, tossing stacks of cash to locals while Birdman stood beside him, both smiling like nothing ever happened. It was a bold show of unity after months of silence. By September, Birdman was even back on YoungBoy's Make America Slime Again tour, telling the crowd, "I'm not about to let my lil bro mess the money up." The energy was pure loyalty. That same tour made over $70 million, proving YoungBoy's unstoppable success. Then in October, the two took it up another level. They performed 100 rounds live for the first time and dropped a new collab track, Thaw Black Sheep, during the epic Cash Money vs. No Limit Versus battle. Birdman ended the night giving YoungBoy a heartfelt shout-out saying, "As long as I'm alive, I got you." "Cash Money ain't never gonna die," Birdman declared proudly, shouting out, "Manga, NBA YoungBoy, and Rich Gang. If you don't like it, too bad." His confidence was sky high as always. Recently, Birdman even predicted that YoungBoy could soon land a $200 to $300 million deal, calling him one of the most special talents of this generation. That's a bold claim, but if anyone can pull it off, it's definitely YoungBoy. For now, it looks like their feud is buried and peace has finally been restored between the two. But the fact that even YoungBoy, one of the hardest, most independent artists in the game, went through that same emotional roller coaster of feeling betrayed and then circling back, it says a lot about the pattern that always seems to follow Birdman's relationships in the industry. History really does repeat itself. And that wraps up this wild story. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Cash Money drama, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out. Hit that bell icon so you never skip another breakdown. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.